Altseason. Is this really the end? No. Why would it be? What's changed? The narratives surrounding this topic have, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the reality of the situation. That's the easiest way to summarize cryptocurrencies. It's all narratives. Oh, and speculation. Candle goes up, oh, it's time to buy. Candle goes down, oh, it's time to sell. Humans are somewhat predictable. They're reactive to current events. They change their thoughts and feelings in response to the latest data they're consuming. When it comes to the markets, humans are as volatile as the candles they're analyzing. This is amplified tenfold in crypto. If we rewind back in time to November 2024, just 3 months ago now, precisely the moment Trump was announced the winner of the presidential elections, you'll note that such discussions relating to no Altseason were off the cards. It was quite the opposite actually, as BTC shredded through the $74,000 all-time high and surged towards $110,000. Many altcoins surged alongside it. Even those you really thought were dead ended up joining the fun. This is unfortunately, however, when most decided to buy. I mean, hey, why wouldn't you? A strategic Bitcoin reserve, ETFs, a suspiciously large endorsement for crypto from the new president. What could possibly go wrong? If you played it smart, these alts generally saw anywhere from a 200 to 500% increase on average, with 500 to 1000% seen in some exceptional circumstances. Many of the coins we held during this move, such as Algo, CRV and Velo, saw an average 400 to 600% return on investment for ourselves and our members, thanks to our positioning. Unfortunately, most barely scraped break even when those alts gained temporary strength. During this moment, it was impossible to go online without seeing the words Altseason being screamed from the rooftops. Or everyone calling for a $1 million BTC and telling you to buy now before it's too late. Oh, and don't forget that BlackRock was allegedly buying BTC too. No, they definitely weren't customers' BTC inflows. They of course were clearly the kind, gentle and caring BlackRock, giving you a heads up to buy BTC because they're buying too. That was a joke, by the way. The point is, if everyone believed in an Altseason just several months prior because prices were going up, why do they no longer believe in an Altseason now when prices have dropped? They haven't even returned back down to where they pumped from yet. Furthermore, shouldn't the recent pumps on altcoins seen several months prior already be confirmation that they're not dead? And clearly, sufficient capital is being driven towards them to increase their prices. This is a classic tale of how crypto operates. You know the old saying, buy low and sell high? It's a foolproof concept in theory. Wait for prices to go low and simply sell high when they go higher. But why do so many people struggle with this? Well, because when those low prices actually come around, they're either too scared to buy or in too much of a loss to leverage those highly favorable prices. This is evidenced by the latest liquidation data. When BTC recently spiked down to $91,500, we saw one of the largest liquidation events since FTX and COVID. A whopping $2.2 billion was shown to be liquidated on the move down, with estimates reaching up to $10 billion from some sources. Whilst this is shocking in itself, the fascinating part is that this all took place whilst Bitcoin is still trading around all-time highs. And as crazy as this sounds, I think this is the explanation for why things may get temporarily bad before it gets very, very good, specifically for altcoins. You see, what most have overlooked is that what we saw was a liquidation event, not a capitulation event. Whilst altcoins will most definitely approach a capitulation event with another sweep lower, they haven't quite done that yet. And we already know the key to a real girthy market rally is always born from the depths of capitulation. So what does this tell us? Well, if we look at where most alts currently trade, It's a fine line between all-time lows and the height of their November rallies. Prices generally remain in a make or break area, where approaching the all-time lows again will trigger the final fear-driven catalyst to capitulate. And I think this is our greatest clue. Sentiment for altcoins currently is really bad. Like, really bad. Scrolling through my X timeline gives me the shivers. Yep, it's important to remember this is simply just sentiment. Narratives push like wildfire through social media platforms, mostly from the same high follower accounts that promised an alt season several months prior. They're the reason we've seen liquidations of this size. It's a dangerous game. It's an echo chamber, herd mentality. As a rule of thumb, when sentiment is this bad, paired with low prices like this, we're a lot closer to a recovery than you may think. Now, it's important we pause here and specify the definition of low before proceeding. BTC may be down to around 95k currently from its 109k 0.5 high, but that doesn't make it low. It's still trading around all-time highs. To make a 100% return here, price needs to reach almost $200,000. Hardly a risk worth taking. To add to that, the recent $2.2 billion liquidation event gives a great indication of what devastating consequences await us if BTC breaks that 90k floor. It was a straight move up from $74,000 to $90,000. Can you imagine how many liquidations lie between this price range? If touching the monthly range lows led to a liquidation event of this magnitude, wouldn't breaking these range lows lead to the largest liquidation event ever, driving us into a capitulation event on BTC? Altcoins are currently vulnerable, sentiment is horrendous, and people are starting to lose faith. We know they follow what the master Bitcoin does. If they're just a stone's throw away from retesting their all-time lows, wouldn't Bitcoin breaking lower be this catalyst for the final sweep? To me, it makes sense, especially if it's created by some bad news, which is hardly far-fetched considering Trump's failure to deliver much of what was promised during the pro-crypto campaign runs, not to mention a conveniently timed trade war initiation. Hey, that reminds me. Did you notice the promised Bitcoin strategic reserve quietly changed to a digital asset stockpile in Trump's executive order? Conveniently, after luring in a ton of hope and corresponding leverage longs and spot buyers, aka exit liquidity. And did you notice BTC conveniently topped on the very day of inauguration? Perhaps you noticed after the market topped, the government quietly changed their stance to assessing the feasibility of a Bitcoin strategic reserve, instead of actually just going ahead with one like they promised. Okay, I've taken the tinfoil hat off, let's stay focused. Digital assets stockpile. Let me repeat, a digital assets stockpile. It's as clear as day really. They're telling you in broad daylight that the narrative has shifted from the golden nugget to an assortment of digital assets, which I believe is what we call alternative coins if you want to be fancy. Altcoins works fine for me. This isn't an isolated event. We've seen ETF filings emerging for all sorts of assets, such as XRP and Doge. Isn't that clear enough? Talking of XRP, historically, once XRP explodes and begins to find its top, it indicates a market-wide top is around the corner. It's a tale as old as time. What goes up is never enough. People always want more. This is heightened with coins such as XRP, XLM and HBAR, all of which have their own individual die-hard cults, all of which also have performed exceptionally well, by the way, which is another sign in itself that clearly, very clearly, altcoins are not dead. In fact, if history is about to repeat, and the recent meteoric drives on these coins are anything to go by, these are now the blueprint for the remaining altcoins, which are yet to see this level of growth. Your eyes shouldn't be set on XRP or the companions mentioned earlier. Know when enough is enough. The reward is no longer favourable. Plus, why on earth would you buy those when there's an abundance of coins with similar real-world prospects trading at a fraction of the price? Didn't XRP, XLM, and HBAR all look exactly like the remaining alts do now before they started their pumps? The cycles are actually exactly the same. The only real difference here is the rotation game has changed. Solana has been a strong contender this cycle, leaving Ethereum fans and holders questioning their life choices. Solana also birthed the craziest meme season ever seen, which most definitely contributed to a larger concentration of liquidity towards meme coins versus altcoins. It's gotten so crazy that even celebrities are on a frenzy of launching their own meme coins. Even the Haktur creature made one. My apologies. How could I forget that the actual president of the actual United States launched a series of them too? Remind you of any historical market characteristics for an end in close reach? I'll give you a hint. NFTs. This has contributed to new fear-mongering narratives worth noting as to why we apparently won't get an alt season. Many say due to the overwhelming amount of new coins emerging daily, there's not enough liquidity to pump them all. And that would be true if the majority of these coins were not meme coins with a general lifespan of 1 to 2 days. They have no real impact on the ecosystem, besides of course damaging the mainstream reputation of crypto. Just because the rotations have changed, it doesn't mean anything else has changed. Conveniently, after the president launched Trump Coin and drained the liquidity from memes, contributing to the so-called blue chips such as WIF and PopCap returning to all-time lows, almost $1 billion in liquidity has now left Trump's coin. Wait a sec, just strapping the tinfoil hat back on. If most memes have reached multi-billion-dollar market caps and dumped to all-time lows, that means a huge amount of people got wrecked. But it also means a huge amount of money was made. For every loser, there's a winner, and that money doesn't sit on its hands in crypto. If almost $1 billion in liquidity has left Trump coin, where is it now? Where have all those profits gone? Wouldn't it be safe to assume they'll be going back into the very same meme coins they took profits on and dumped? Sorry, just adjusting my tinfoil hat again. Considering the growth of BTC, Solana, and XRP, and anything else that looks like those, isn't it safe to assume an ungodly amount of profits have been made on these outperformers by whales? Isn't it then safe to assume that a singular market correction here would simply be one of the largest profit-taking events ever, that naturally causes the impact to create the largest capitulation event ever from the corresponding sell-off? Wouldn't it be safe to assume that all of those profits that elevated the outperformers higher will be rotated to make the underperformers replicate the very same movements? Tinfoil hat has now been removed. If you want to buy a lot of cryptocurrency, you need a lot of liquidity. That's achieved by driving a lot of people to sell. This conveniently tends to happen on the back of sudden, unexpected bad news. So is alt season over? The answer is most likely no. In fact, it's probably not even started yet. If we get another shake-up to the downside, don't be the person who regrets missing out on life-changing opportunities because they fell victim to narratives and fear. Believe in something.